10 tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
We're live. Hi guys, we got a jam-packed show tonight. I'm glad you guys are all with us. As you can see, we've got both Jason and Paul tonight. I think it's been about 5 or 6 weeks since we've all appeared together at the same time. Um, we got a jam-packed show. We're going to start off by talking about Brian Ferentz. We're going to talk about the state of men's and women's basketball. We've got wrestling to talk about, and we're going to kind of wrap it up with women's softball and men's baseball tonight. So bear with us if you guys got any questions and put them out there. If we don't respond to your questions right away, I guess I better tell that throughout the night because we have 0 viewers right now. But if we don't respond right away, that's just because it's off topic and we want to get on topic as much as possible. But we'll respond at the end. I left a few minutes at the end for us to
Or
respond to comments.
or we could just answer the question like after the segment.
Okay. We
So,
can do that.
Not at the end. We don't have like 20 questions or whatever. If somebody,
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
like Jared likes to ask a lot of questions.
He
so-
does. Yeah.
And,
Okay.
and Dean, in the time that it took you to do that introduction, Iowa just missed 3 more 3-point shots.
Oh, darn. We'll come to that, buddy. We'll come to that. Okay. We have the three of us actually have a different perspective on Brian Ferentz, and I want to have Coach Jason get started with that. Go ahead, Jason.
Are you sure you want to start with me? The
Yes, I do.
Side, the positive side. This is I don't understand. I went down the rabbit hole again the other night with somebody who, and I had to show like literally there's games where there was wide open receivers all over. There's so many excuses for Petrus. I can't take it. If Cade was the quarterback, he would have this year, even with the receivers had so much separation, and that is the scheme. The scheme gets receivers wide open. There was so much separation this year, even with walk-on wide receivers, right? And people would start off, well, 2 of them would start off with, well, yeah, you just showed a few plays. You can go watch the game, the Nebraska game. I just recorded the first 5 minutes, and all those plays were in the first 5 minutes of the Nebraska game that Petrus missed. It had nothing to do with the offensive line. He had all day to throw the football. So this is not on Brian. Brian's already proved with Nate Stanley when he has a quarterback that he will be very successful. This offense is even going to take another step because of the accurate quarterback, right? Nate, what we can all think of passes where Nate overthrew receivers, right?
Right.
So he wasn't always accurate, but he always came back on a 3rd down play, right? He would miss a 1st down play or something and then come back and connect on 3rd down, which is why his completion percentage was in the 59-60% area. But with Brian coming back, and I don't know, maybe Cade had a lot to do with Brian coming back. Well, he might have had a little bit to do with it, but they weren't going to pay, the offense coordinator the money he wanted, too. That's a part of it. We know somebody was going to take the job, but they couldn't come to agreement in terms. So then they fell back on Brian. So that was a little out there. But Cade is going to excel big time in this offense. He's mobile. Those bootlegs are going to be fire with him, right? So when he's rolling out, he'll either take off for 4 yards or whatever and get the 1st down, or he'll complete the pass because of how accurate he is. So in the running game, like last year, CJ, Caleb Johnson, right? Caleb? Is it Caleb?
Yeah. Okay.
Caleb Johnson, he averaged over 5 yards a carry. The offensive line was fine. Every so often they screwed up, right? And the blitz would get there. It wasn't like it was every play. You can't make excuses for certain positions just because the other position failed every once in a while. The quarterback failed 80% of the time. I mean, it was nuts. So I love the fact that Brian's coming back. I love the fact that they have receivers. This year they have big receivers. If you haven't seen the size of Iowa's receivers. And the core, though, the key is to have Deontay Vines back. Regini's back, right? But then we got Brack, who's a big receiver, Jackson Ritter, who's a big receiver. He would have played this year, but he got hurt in the spring. This offense is going to be stacked, and having the tight ends, I didn't mention them because that goes without saying, having Eric All and then Lachey. I mean, this offense will have zero excuses next year. If he fails, this is where I will fall into the, okay, Brian, it's time, is if the offense fails next year with the players that they have, because every single one of these offensive linemen came back, so they got another year of experience except Jack Plum. So and the reason I love Brian is because he's the only OC under Kirk that actually throws the football, right? He throws the football at a higher percentage than any other OC. I mean, that's why Nate Stanley threw the ball more times in 3 years than Chuck Long did in 4, because Brian likes to throw the ball. Now, we do have that infamous 50-pass game against Northwestern, so that kind of tells you he does like to throw it. He just had the wrong quarterback. But I think Cade is going to excel under this. This offense fits him perfect. He will have wide-open receivers all over the place because of the scheme. Yeah, that's my pitch for this. I give him 1 year because of what we have on offense.
Yeah. After
this year, if it's like last year, which it won't be. I mean, it wasn't like that with Stanley. And Cade's a better quarterback than Stanley as far as accuracy.
Right.
I don't know if he can break tackles like Nate did in the pocket, right? Everybody talks about Nate having an offensive line, but he was breaking tackles all over the place in the pocket and rolling out. So,
all right. What do you say to the people that say that, well, Cade was more of a manager because they ran more than they passed, and he was handing the ball off to some pretty good running backs?
I agree with
most
that.
of the time.
That's what Iowa needs. That's what I think is perfect. They're going to run the football, but I mean, under Brian, he'll throw it more under Brian than he ever would have at Michigan, right?
Right.
And the fact that he will pick up third downs because of his accuracy. He is like the perfect game manager. And maybe Brian won't use him as a game manager. I don't know. But he is that guy to complete that 3rd and 5-yard pass, right? When they're wide open and we miss them. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing I do like about him is he is a game manager, but he has skills to be more than that. And he's proved it by completing passes downfield, right? He averaged, you'll have to look it up. I have all my notes in my phone, but now I got to use my phone for this. I think he averaged 9 yards a pass, a completion or something like that, or an attempt. So he didn't throw it like even close to as many times as what Nate Stanley did, but he averaged more. He completed 65% of his passes. He only threw for 2,300 yards, but he didn't throw it that many times, right? But they threw it downfield. They didn't throw screen passes all the time, right? Michigan play action passes and chucks it. So what I'm excited about is the accuracy that Cade has downfield.
Okay. Hey, Paul, you got a take on this?
Boy, well, I mean, look, at the end of the day, it does not matter who the offensive coordinator is. As far as if you're wanting to see a no huddle, spread, air raid offense, it's not coming while Kirk Ferentz is the head coach. And it does not matter who Iowa would go out and who Kirk would hire. Kirk he would have gone with somebody who would have followed the game plan, the philosophy, so I mean, whether it's Brian Ferentz or Brian Dawkins or Brian Stevenson or the last name makes no bearing on what kind of offense Iowa is going to run. So with that in mind, I totally agree with Coach Hack here. I'm pretty excited about this because it's really a matter of execution and having players that can execute the simple stuff. And that's what held Iowa's offense back I mean, if you go back and watch those games, go back and watch our videos from all season long and what we were talking about happening with the offensive struggles that we saw. It was, we couldn't hit screen passes to the running back. We couldn't, and those things were set up beautifully with blockers out in front and nothing between what would have been the receiver and the end zone. Like it was, they had parted the Red Sea. It was the play calling was there all season long. The execution was not. Now, if you want to say, well, that's part of the deal, right? That's part on, the coaches, right? Then on that, maybe we can agree, except at the end of the day, the coaches can't block. The coaches can't tackle. The coaches can't complete the passes, can't catch the balls. They put the coach's job is to put these guys in a position to succeed. And believe it or not, I know the stats don't tell that story, but the film does.
Yeah. And that's why, what Coach Ferentz said, and without saying it, like he said, it goes the first 4 years with Brian, we averaged more points than I've ever averaged in my life, right? They averaged almost 30 points a game. No OC has ever done that with Kirk. So that's why he said that. And I think that's why they're giving him this year, because Petrus, all the coaches see, and I told you guys, there were some coaches that wanted Joey, early. Brian wanted Padilla against Nevada. But 6 weeks into the season, they were already wanting to replace Petrus, but Kirk wouldn't, because Petrus doesn't make mistakes, right? That was Paul. Paul would say it every game. Petrus wouldn't make a mistake after he made the mistake. Petrus don't make mistakes, right? That was all of us fans when Kirk would always say that, and that's why he started. But I think this isn't a flip off or nothing like that to the fans. Like, I was watching that one podcast just so I can go off on their ignorance. And I mean, it's crazy. It's not, Kirk isn't flipping anybody off. He's telling you, this is what we did when we had Nate Stanley. I apologize that Spencer didn't live up to expectations. Brian gets Cade for a year. If it fails this year, then yeah, it's over. Because even with Kirk's style, having that 25 points, he will shut the offense down, but maybe he won't shut it down until the fourth quarter now, right? If they're up 21-0, he's still going to shut the offense down, right? That's why the points is at 25 minutes. So
if I was going to criticize Brian directly, it's that he was not only the offense coordinator, but he was the quarterback's coach. And we definitely, in my opinion, I don't know what they saw Monday through Friday, but on Saturdays, we did not see a lot of growth from Spencer Petras. I feel like he was pretty much the same guy his entire career. And we never really saw the maturation of to an extent, in some cases, maybe we did. Early on in his career, everything was 100-mile-an-hour fastball. He did kind of hone that in a little bit, but he was never a consistent guy. We never really saw that from him. His accuracy, we never really saw a lot of improvement there in his career.
And Brian's only had 1 year with the quarterbacks, right? First year. We really don't know what kind of quarterback coach Brian's going to end up being. He's only had 1 year with them, right? And Petrus went and saw Tony Rasiopi. So Petrus had professional people working with him. It's all his brain. Yeah. When at the end of the game, when he would always say, "I just need to set my feet." Yeah, but you should know that during the play, not when you're doing an interview. So
running for his life. That's why he didn't think about it. All right, let's move on. I think we've pretty much got that, but
he wasn't running for his life all the time.
No, actually, he never ran for his life. He just stood there and took it. All right.
Thank you, sir. May I have another?
Yeah. Anyhow, let's move on to we got men's and women's basketball. both teams kind of failed us this week. The women was kind of expected, but I thought it'd be a closer game. The men, I don't know. I didn't necessarily think they were going to win both games this week, but I did expect a better game out of them than what they gave us. And so I'm not sure what to say about it at this point. I know that last night and today the internet has gone off and everybody's jumping off ship and writing them off now.
I love that. I absolutely love it when they do that.
I myself is not as optimistic because I feel like they've lost some confidence with their shot and everything. But they are coming home. They are playing Michigan State, and they have a history of sometimes blowing Michigan State out at home. And so I've got a little hope back that we bounce back on Saturday morning on that. And you guys won't have to hear me bitch or see my bitching because I won't be watching the game. I'm too busy on Saturday with everything else in my life. But let's just take off from there. Paul, you get to go first this time. What do you see from the men's team what do you think is going on? Why they're missing all those 3-point shots all of a sudden?
I wish I could put my finger on it. Good shooters are just not shooting the ball well. It would be one thing if we were playing teams that, every shot was contested and we weren't able to, get good looks. But the fact of the matter is, I understand the desperation shots not going down and that kind of thing. But we have guys that are getting quality looks that, at the Big Ten D1 level, they're more than open. And so, I don't think it's a confidence thing. I do think there's definitely something to, playing on the road that's tough in the Big Ten. It's tough. It's tough in general, when you're trying to shoot in unfamiliar surroundings a little bit. It's different lighting. There can be a lot of different reasons for not shooting the ball particularly well on the road versus at home. But good shooters typically shoot well, and right now Iowa's in a funk. Excuse me. From the 3-point line. And then, what I really don't quite get is they don't have to be, right. You don't have to settle. Even if you're early in the shot clock. I know Iowa wants to play fast. They want to run, they want to have that pace. They want to get the other team playing at that high of a pace as well. But, I feel like sometimes they're just a little too anxious. Like, oh, I've got a great look. Let me go ahead and take it, because that's the plan. But, sometimes you can give up a good look for a great look. And I'm not sure that we're being patient enough, trying to, and if you're not knocking down threes, then, let's start running the offense a little more through Rabracha. I don't know if Chris is a good post up player per se, but he is long. Same with Patrick McCaffrey. He's long. Maybe if we could try to find some ways to get some buckets, that and let the 3-pointer come to us a little. I don't know.
Right.
Go ahead, Coach.
I was going to just say on the 3-point shot that they are getting wide open shots, but I just wonder if they're afraid they're closing out too quick on them, so they're just chucking it up there without putting a little focus on it and doing what they have to do. Because when we throw one up, it doesn't look as lately the last couple of games, it doesn't look as smooth and as when the other two teams that just pummeled us the last two games, when they put one up, it looked like That's going in. It's got everything. It's on target. It's on range. They shot it well. They were in form. But Iowa just looks like they're grabbing it. They're open, but they're just throwing it up there, hoping it will go in. And I don't know. Maybe I'm not so worthy of that to notice that. And so maybe you guys see something different. Maybe they are in good form. Maybe they are. But it just seems to me if they would just take a half a second longer to get set and just get the form down, maybe those shots would drop. And then the other thing, Tony Perkins, being as aggressive as he is, I kind of expected to see that from Chris, and we're just not seeing that from Chris. I mean, in most games lately, even on the games where he does well, that's usually they're not really doing a good job of defending him. And it just seems like he kind of gives up when he's being defended. He doesn't want to work hard to get through that and maybe draw a foul. I think he could draw a lot of fouls if he would just, dribble drive into the paint a little bit more deeper and just try to put the shot up. And maybe he won't get the shot, but maybe he gets fouled and gets his points at the free throw line. I don't know. It's just what I'm seeing. I'm not the coach. I don't get paid $6-7 million a year to coach that team. Fran does, and I mean, I gotta trust Fran. He knows what he's doing, and I know that he wants to win those games. The players want to win those games, and us as fans, we get frustrated when they don't win those games. Go ahead, Jason, your turn.
I don't think they're forcing anything. They're taking their time and shooting. Nothing's just falling. Okay. The only one that doesn't is Samford, right? He likes that quick trigger. He's the one that you can really see put it up right away. There are so many threes where, like Connor, 2 of his threes, he was wide open, and he kind of looked, he looked down, and then he went up. Like, if he would have just went up with it right away, instead of just, like, it was like he was trying to make sure he didn't really want to shoot it. So I think Connor's confidence as far as shooting is probably down. Okay. But Chris isn't a driver. Like what you were saying, though, I don't think he can dribble that well.
Okay.
He loses the ball a lot. He gets the ball stolen from him a lot. He don't have TP's skills with the ball, right? Mm-hmm. He doesn't have the handles to be driving in. The thing is, he's missing. Do you remember that three-pointer last night where nobody was around him? Even they were like, how? Whoa. Like, literally nobody was around him. Yeah. I just think there's something in the water on the road teams. That's why I shared, like, all the Big Ten teams struggle. These people say that, Iowa's going to get killed in the Big Ten tournament because they're going on the road. Well, hell, all these other teams, there's teams like Illinois that's worse than Iowa on the road.
Yeah,
right?
Maryland's worse.
Maryland's like 2-7.
Yeah, I don't know if you're the one that posted that chart. I don't know who posted, but I think it was on your Facebook page. I noticed that there was a lot of teams in a lot worse shape than Iowa as far as on the road. I mean, and like you said, only two teams have managed to win on the road this year, and that was Northwestern and Purdue.
Iowa went on the road to Rutgers and won.
Yes, they did. They won 3 games on the road. I don't remember who it was. Minnesota, Rutgers, and I don't remember who else.
Rutgers is a very good team at home. They on the road. Like, Rutgers can't win on the road. So, I mean, this is just getting, like, silly to be all dramatic. That's why I shared that a friend of mine on Twitter, he's a gambler too. That's why he put in the Iowa be favored. Like, he knows, he's really good at knowing the spread before they come up. He's a professional gambler as well. I shared that. Like, he said, this is like all those Hawkeye fans in football season when they lose one game. Like, remember when Iowa lost to Iowa State? It's over. We're not going to win 4 games. It's over. And every year this happens, right? Yeah. And then they ended up going on that winning streak like they do every year. Right. But they just couldn't, finish it at the end with Nebraska. But to
everybody's credit, we weren't paying with our regular quarterback. We didn't have Laporta in that game, and I don't think we had Eugene either. Did we?
Not after the first quarter.
Yeah.
So this team is going to go home. They're going to play well, just like what Robbie said. Watch them go home against Michigan State and go 17 for 23 from 3-point range. Yeah. Right? That's what happens with this team. They're streaky. They can't win at Nebraska, right? I can't remember the last time they won at Nebraska. So
I think the last couple years they have.
They didn't win.
I mean, it's been tough. I don't think it's been easy for them, but I think they have.
I don't think they won at Nebraska at all last year. Like in this year, they didn't win at Nebraska.
No, they didn't. They didn't. And
last year,
Nebraska game was the first one after the Eastern Illinois loss, and so their heads were down.
And there's that one game, the infamous game where Wieskamp at Nebraska went like 1 for 15 from 3 himself, and Iowa lost that game, and they were highly ranked.
Right.
So, no, I mean this team is fine. Yeah. If they lose against Michigan State at home, then I'll start to go, okay. Maybe they're not. If they lose at home, and they could go on the road to Indiana and win, they've done it. Yeah. I don't know.
I think they've done pretty well at Indiana in the past.
Yeah,
they usually play pretty well and they shoot pretty well there. They don't always come out of it with a win, but they've always been right there at the end. Yeah. So that gives me hope.
The other thing to keep in mind too, we're to that point in the year where you're playing a lot of these teams for a second time, and now you're playing on the road against a team that's already scouted you once. They've had an opportunity to see you in person at that, and kind of get an idea of what you're about. And I know, Fran McCaffrey knows more about basketball. He's forgotten more about basketball than I'll ever know.
Yeah.
I would like to see, when the 3-point shot isn't working, as we've seen, maybe we ought to try some other stuff, running a little less motion, maybe trying to run some set plays, get the ball inside a little bit more, try to get to the free throw line, try to build some confidence that way.
Right. Go ahead. I was going
to, like that Wisconsin game yesterday, it was like, and maybe the refs weren't calling a ton of fouls, but you know what? When you're taking 25 3-point shots, how many fouls are you going to draw?
Well, right, but they play that pack line defense, and Rebraca was getting destroyed. Everybody went down low, was getting destroyed. Chris was getting destroyed. Chris missed how many bunnies? Think about how many bunnies Chris missed yesterday because he was afraid of the inside. He was afraid of being blocked, stripped. Wisconsin plays that pack line defense, which is why Iowa's 3-pointers were wide open. Like, they didn't care about Iowa's 3-point shooting. I think they were going to make Iowa make some threes before they loosened up the defense. So I understand the game plan, and they don't really have, other than TP, a player who can drive in and make a play, right, in the lane, even with it being packed. But, I mean, Nebraska was just getting beat up, and Chris was afraid. He's mentally not – like, he's just not mentally strong yet. Like, he's got to have – he kind of reminds me of my oldest boy in football. Like, I couldn't get him to – like, he didn't want to hurt anybody. He was afraid to hit people, right? He was a bigger kid for his age, and he just didn't want to – he's like, I'm like, you got to hit him. He's like, I don't want to hit him. So, I mean, that's kind of like what Chris is, where Keegan is a dog, right? In his mind, he wants to posterize you. He plays with anger, which is huge. Playing with anger is what you have to do in sports, in certain, maybe not baseball, but in basketball, football, you got to play with a certain level of anger in certain moments, right?
Okay. Given what everybody has seen this year, the scouts and stuff from Chris and his tendency to disappear and, like you said, sometimes being scared to go to the hoop, is he still a desirable candidate for the NBA?
Yeah. Because of what they're going to use him for. Mm-hmm. He's going to be what Keegan is. He's not going to drive the lane and all that. Mm-hmm. He's going to be a 3-point shooter at the next level. Okay. And that's what – and the NBA will look at this like they already seen him in workouts. So they know he'll go do workouts again and he'll probably blow it up, right, at the workouts. Mm-hmm. They'll blame the team, right? There's a lot of people that get drafted that you wouldn't think get drafted because they played on bad teams, but the NBA knows they only care about certain positions, right?
Right.
Put Chris in a corner like they do Keegan, and he's just going to shoot wide open threes when he gets the ball.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead, Paul.
I have a question, because there's kind of a cliche in sports, and Coach, I know you'll, I know you've heard this one. A team will take on the characteristics of its coach, and our coach is an extremely emotional, sometimes volatile guy. And so I wonder if that has something to do with why we see some of these peaks and valleys, especially on the road, right? I mean, because if your coach doesn't coach with poise or whatever, I mean, he's the Franimal, right? And so I wonder if that has something to do with it. That's the thing about Iowa football. You look at Kirk Ferentz and how he coaches and how he's kind of known for being somewhat stoic, never too high, never too low. Are we a little too emotionally unstable?
No, that just depends on. I guess it depends on what kids you have, right? Bobby Knight won national championships. You can go through. Look at Izzo at Michigan State. He's a nutcase, right? On game day.
But is he a nutcase with his own players? I mean, you see, how many times does Izzo have to be restrained by 3 coaches and 3 players?
Well, I mean, he goes after him. I don't know. I don't pay attention that much, but he goes after him just like Fran does.
Right.
He goes after the refs just like Fran. Look at Michigan's coach. I mean, there's so many coaches that are like Fran. I think maybe Fran needs to adjust his style to his players because he can be like that to Connor mentally, right? Connor is just like Fran mentally. They're both very fiery guys. Chris, on the other hand, it's not going to work, I don't think, because he's so soft.
Right.
That's how you have to understand your players. But I would have went off like Fran did too, because you're trying to lose by less than 16 if you're going to lose. And there has been proven that there was multiple times where the 10-second call should have been called.
Right.
So it was more than just the one that he flipped out on. It was just crazy how they weren't calling that in that Northwestern game.
But, Fran has an obligation a little bit to don't let his rage get to the point where he gets ejected. And then, then you give up four free throws and possession of the ball in a game that they weren't out of at that point. I mean, it was still about a 10-point game, an 11-point game. And then you give up 4 free throws plus possession, and I think it turned into like an 8-point possession for Wisconsin.
It did. If you count Patrick's technical, I think it did.
So, and Patrick is another soft one. So, I mean, this is what I don't understand, which I love Lisa's build because Lisa Bluter uses the plus minus, right? Her big thing is she loves how Kate Martin's plus minus is off the charts. Like when she goes out of the game, and then even with Caitlin Clark, she'll turn the ball over or whatever, and the team just doesn't execute as much, which is why. And Kate plays defense, right? One of the few people. Well, last night was something similar, which I thought was nuts. Like, okay, Connor was -5, Rebracha was -5, but Euless was +7. We lost by. What did we lose by? 18?
Yeah. Something like that.
Anyway,
16, I think. I think it was 16.
And he was +7. So when he was on the court, Iowa was winning. Like they were gaining or they were winning. And like in the beginning of the game, they went up, right? But then Patrick and Peyton, because, Peyton scored 10 points, but what else did he do? He gave up 100. Hit the team with those two on the floor. The team was -20 with Peyton. -19 with Patrick. So, and I believe the Patrick. I did not notice the Peyton as much. But I noticed Patrick, he doesn't seem to even want to be in there on defense. And he's what you guys are talking about. He just chucks it up.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't feel like, or he doesn't seem like Patrick is back yet. Like he came back too early.
That's what I was wondering. I mean,
our winning streak was when Patrick wasn't there.
Right. And now we're losing games because he is back.
Yeah. So I don't understand why Ulis played 28 minutes.
Right.
When he was on the floor, Iowa was doing very well, right? All the starters were within -5, -7 for Chris. Chris was -7.
Dix, they're not playing Dix very much anymore, and they don't seem to be playing DeSante at all anymore.
No.
He came in for 1 minute last night, I think.
Oh, okay.
He came in for a minute, but I think it was because somebody got 2 fouls in the first half.
Must be when I went to the bathroom.
But and Dix was only -4, but he only played a couple minutes. So I don't understand why Peyton doesn't play any defense. So he shouldn't be on the floor if he's not hitting shots, period.
Right.
Connor doesn't hit shots. He was 1 for 5 shooting or whatever. But when he's on the floor, they play defense, which is why he keeps his plus-minus. Right. And everybody's plus-minus because he barks orders and tells everybody where to be.
Yeah. And he uncharacteristically had 3 turnovers last night. That's not like him at all.
That was the first time he's had 1 turnover in the last 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
He had coming into that game that he had 18 assists and 0 turnovers in 2 games.
Wow.
And then he had 3 with 1 assist last night.
Can we address the ball situation? Does Wisconsin use the same ball as what Nebraska and Maryland, or this the NCAA tournament ball I've read? Maybe I don't know.
Here's what I found researching. Only Northwestern and Wisconsin use the Wilson ball.
Okay.
And honestly, I don't know. Everybody who goes to Wisconsin has to use that ball. Everybody who goes to Northwestern has to use that ball. So I don't think it's an excuse. I think they just need to get out there and maybe do an early shoot around or something. Get
Apparently
used to
they're
the
not
ball,
allowed
get
to
used to the
practice
field.
with those balls. Is that what I've heard because of contractual situations or something?
Somebody's told me today because I questioned it, and they said they can't because of contracts. They can't have those Wilson balls in their gym. Okay, let's move on real quick to the women. Let's just hit that very quick. The women are no longer in the have a chance at tying or taking the regular season title, but it would be fun to beat Indiana at the end of the season. I think that's Sunday, or is that Saturday?
No, it's
Sunday.
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 Yeah, and game day basketball will be there at the game. I expect a good game. I expect the crowd to be into it. Why is am I?
It's a sellout. Where are you going?
Here. Oh, guys, hang on.
It's a sellout, and I kind of expected what happened to Iowa at Maryland. Maryland, they play that bully style that the women just don't like, right? They didn't do that when they played at Iowa. They did not play that bully style. And they didn't guard Monica or Caitlin, right? They went off for 70 points. Mm-hmm. So they did
a good job on Caitlin. They really had her covered.
And
Monica.
Sonano. They doubled and triple team Sonano. They couldn't even get the ball to her. I think
they were doing that to Hannah Stolke too.
I mean, she only took 5 shots, and my dang, I get all these messages on my phone. Every time my phone gets a message, it vibrates. I wish there's a way to turn off the vibrator.
Oh.
Then when it vibrates, it falls. But anyway,
I think you can put it on silent without vibrate or silent with vibrate. But I'm not. You have to go to the settings to do that. Anyway,
that's too deep for me.
Yeah. So Iowa has returning. They've already had Kate say she's coming back. Marshall coming back. Warnock's not coming back. Molly Davis said a couple of weeks ago she was coming back for her super senior season. Did I miss somebody?
Yeah, you know what we missed? We got to talk about Hottie Toddy that plays at Nebraska.
Oh my God! Keep it classy, Paul.
I'm sorry.
Jazz Shelley, yeah.
Yes, Jazz Shelley. Yes, she makes the heart tick a little faster.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd rather have our girls and win.
yeah.
Well,
All right, let's go. That's all I'm going to really say on the women right now because we kind of went over our time, and I want to hurry up and get through this. Let's talk about a little wrestling that we had. Oklahoma State. We kind of just blew them out of the arena the other day, and I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting maybe 6, 7 wins when I went through it pre-game, but pre-match as it was. We didn't. We just had Spencer's exciting less than a minute pin as usual. Did you guys know he was only 5'3"?
yeah.
I did not know that until they talked about that.
You can't be a big guy and wrestle at 125.
I'm taller than nobody, and I'm actually taller than he is.
Yeah. I mean, you're not going to find a 5'8" guy who's a buck, a buck 120 pounds.
Yeah.
And be an effective wrestler.
I just saw him standing next to Coach Brands, and I was like, oh, he must be really short.
Yeah.
But it was nice. We got a couple of minor upsets.
I love the fact that, talking about that Oklahoma State duel, the visiting team gets to choose. Do you wrestle straight through with the low to high weight classes, or do you pick at random? And they wanted to pick at random because they did not want Spencer Lee and Real Woods and those guys to trot out there, boom, boom, and Iowa to come out and get a big lead and momentum and guess what? So we started at 165.
Right. It backfired. Our top 5 guys usually aren't the best, and it backfired on Oklahoma State.
Absolutely did. They did not get the benefit of what they were hoping, and Iowa just came out on senior night and just
they were
laid
there,
the
the
real
crowd
wood.
Was into it. It was nice to see all the former wrestlers there on the sidelines cheering them on, including my boy Chuck Yegla. who's been on the podcast with Nolan and I a couple different times in the past.
Isn't Coach Brands like 5'8"?
He's not very tall himself. You're right.
Yeah. Okay. Because he only weighs probably 150 pounds himself.
Right.
What does he wrestle?
Yeah, he's in good shape. Both him and his brother are in excellent shape. I wish I could say the same for myself.
Well, it's that mentality. And if you got that mentality, you don't let yourself they wake up angry, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Angry. Like, I got to get me in 100 push-ups before I do anything,
Yeah.
So that's just the mindset. I mean, if you're willing to run around a gym until you throw up, I mean, you got a different kind of mind, right?
I think the one thing that we did see throughout this wrestling season, it really is Iowa and Penn State in a tier by themselves. Then 3 through whatever, Iowa now, I haven't seen Penn State recently. I will say Iowa appears to be healthy going into the Big Tens this year. Unlike last year where we limped into the Big Tens. And so, I mean, if we can stay moderately healthy through the Big Ten tournament and nationals, it wouldn't be a huge shock to see Iowa Penn State in 4 or 5 weight classes in the championships of both the Big Ten and the NCAA tournament.
No, it wouldn't.
And Iowa might have to get a couple of upsets to get to 4 or 5. But I mean, it wouldn't be a surprise to, for Spencer Lee, Real Woods, Cassiope could get to the finals. Mad Max could get there. There's probably 1 or 2 more that I can't think of at the moment.
Real Woods, you got Real Woods, Spencer Lee,
Cassiope. Cass, I said him, yeah.
Okay. Do you think which one of them was in the finals last year and lost? Was it Warner?
I think it was Jacob Warner. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm surprised. I see that he was in the finals last year, but he's like ranked way low. So I'm not sure what happened there. Or maybe just because he hasn't wrestled much this year.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully we can get, if Brands can get to All America status, if he can finish top 8. I think right now his intermat ranking is somewhere in the teens, 15 or 16.
Mm-hmm. I think it was like 13. I think it was 13.
Depending on draw and just a little luck here or there, if we could get him into the top 8, that would be big for Iowa.
Well, I think the key is not so much our finals, because we have possibility at 3, maybe 4 getting to the finals. But I think the key is going to be placing at those lower weights in the top 8.
Yeah, and
on the winning side, on the oddball, like 5, 3, 7.
We're going to need bonus points out of we need Spencer Lee to do Spencer Lee things, right? Mm-hmm. We need him getting falls and tech falls. We need Real Woods getting falls and tech falls. We need Cass to, get a pin or 2 along the way. So I mean, that's what Penn State does really well. Is they get you with those with the team bonus points in those tournaments. So Iowa's going to have to keep up that way.
All right. Well, let's move on. Let's move on to baseball. I've been posting some baseball stories this year and some softball stories. I'm not real familiar what the records are right now. I believe, Jason, you're pretty familiar what's going on with both baseball and softball. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Love both of them. And this year, the softball team, I mean, they're competing. They've won some games. And with their starting pitching, they're looking really good, right? They had so many games. They've already played 9 games. They played, I think, 6 games or so last weekend, or the weekend before. But they're 6-3 on the season with the wins over top 25, Mississippi State, and which is something they haven't done in who knows how long. And they have wins over Syracuse, NC State with their starting pitching. Jalen Adams, she's awesome. So Denali Lecker she's a great hitter. She pitched a little bit, but she gave up a few runs. She's probably the best all around. Well, Nia Carter is the best batting average, but Denali Lecker can knock it out of the yard. Like, they got some pieces, right? They're not so deep in the pitching, but they have this weekend is a huge weekend for both. Softball, they got a matchup. Can't wait to find out who's pitching against number 1 UCLA. Now, I hope they make it, because baseball does the same, I guess. But I'm hoping they make it to 7 innings, because that would be huge. Because they got 5 top 25 wins just last weekend alone. UCLA did. So,
well, here's a little thing. I didn't know that Iowa was going to be playing UCLA. Did you know that there's a girl in her second year at UCLA named Lauren Shaw, who was a pitcher 2 years ago or 3 years ago for Iowa?
I did not know that.
I wonder if she'll be starting against Iowa.
It must be before they got Gillespie as their coach, right? She came in 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Turning the program around.
Yeah, 22, 20. So she left during the COVID year, after the COVID season.
Probably. I mean,
did they even have a COVID year? They didn't play softball during the COVID year, did they?
I think the World Series was canceled. Everything was canceled. So they did play.
Okay.
Because everything got canceled. Because here in Omaha, we do the College World Series. We didn't have the Home Run Derby. I don't believe we had the College World Series.
No. Okay, I know. I like Lauren Shaw as a player because I watched her on TV. She played the 21 season and left after the 21 season. So 22 and 23 was with UCLA.
Okay. And she's a starting pitcher right now?
Yes.
Okay. So the softball's got a big weekend. They start off with the game they should win with a team they've already beaten. I can't pronounce the name, so I'm not going to try. But
Q?
What?
Team with the Q on it?
No, that's the baseball team.
That was the baseball team. Okay.
Yeah, it's a B. Anyway, they so they got a good weekend. I mean, they're not going to beat UCLA. I mean, I'd bet $1 million on that. But I would hope it'd be really neat to see them play all 7 innings. Baseball, on the other hand, they played number 1 LSU, and if Rick Keller keeps the pitching going the same as he did last weekend, guess who's pitching against LSU?
Breck?
Yep. Breck will pitch against LSU on Saturday. And I'm sure his rotation is probably finalized before season started last weekend. Like, in baseball, you have your 3 starters, and then you have whoever pitch during the week when you have a during the week game, but you have your top 3 pitchers pitch the weekend. And Breck is the number 2 starter, so it's very possible. Number 2 starter. I could still do that for now anyway. But it's a big weekend for both baseball and softball. It's going to be fun. You can't go into it just hoping they win, right? You just got to go into it having fun. Let's see how good we are against the number 1 teams. Because remember, this is a sport. These are 2 sports where teams up north struggle, right? They struggle because, like last year, Iowa should, with their pitching, they had the best defense in the country. They should have been in the NCAA tournament, but they weren't. And it's because they only take 1 or 2 Big Ten teams. So, Paul, you're going to get that pitcher again doing that. Pitcher with the ball. But yeah, both those, I'm excited to watch both games. But it's going to suck if Iowa plays UCLA and LSU at the same time, though, because you got to have flow baseball and flow basketball to watch those games. Well, actually, ESPN3 likes to have softball on. That's how I watched them last weekend. So, but flow baseball is what we probably have to watch to watch the Iowa LSU game. But it's a big weekend for those 2 sports.
It's a pretty big weekend for basketball too.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's a huge weekend. Basketball, they're playing number 2 Indiana, the women. The men just need a freaking win. What makes this weekend big for the men is they just have to win.
Right.
I mean, there's no way around it. But yeah, the baseball, softball, and women's basketball, they're all playing top teams. So yeah, it's a huge. I don't know about wrestling. I don't know when. So is the Big Ten tournament next, or what's next for wrestling?
I think so. Yeah, I think the dual season is done.
The dual season's done.
So now
the weekend of March 3rd and 4th, or whatever that is, 4th, 5th, is the weekend of the Big Ten tournament.
So it's next weekend, a week. About
next
a week
weekend
away.
is the wrestling tournament, and next weekend is also the women's Big Ten tournament.
Right.
The women are locked in probably to a number 2 seed, I think.
Well, they're 2 or 3. They could still be a 3. They're not locked.
Yeah, they could still be a 3. Yeah, you're right.
They got to beat. If they beat Indiana, they'll be a 3 or a 2. I mean.
Yeah.
And it just depends on what Maryland does. So.
The Big Ten women's basketball. I mean, it's very similar to Big Ten wrestling. It's like what is it? 4 of the top 10 teams in the country in the Big Ten, maybe, or 5 in the top 15, something like that. It's
crazy. They've got
3:
Iowa, Indiana, Ohio State, Illinois,
Maryland.
Yeah,
there's 5 right there.
Yeah, in the top 25, but 3 in the top 10. Ohio State's 13th or something.
Right.
Okay.
So, but Maryland, Iowa, and Indiana are all top 6. I think they're top 6, to be honest. Iowa's 6th.
Iowa was 6th. Well, yeah, they got the weekend. If they beat Indiana, they'll stay there.
I mean, they are 6 now. They were 5. They dropped.
For anybody that kind of dismisses or doesn't really watch like women's basketball, because I understand, that there's some people out there that are like, look, it's not that interesting or whatever. I would highly recommend checking it out. I mean, they are fun to watch. Lisa Bluter does a really great job. What's really cool about the way Iowa plays too is they'll have some crazy stat that like they'll have 26 assists on 30 baskets. I mean, they shared the basketball. Even when Caitlin Clark is scoring a bunch or Monica Cesano is scoring a bunch, it's because their teammates are getting them involved. They run a lot of great set plays. It's really good fundamental basketball. If you enjoy watching the fundamentals of the game, the team aspect of basketball, women's basketball is actually quite entertaining.
Especially Bluter's style.
Right.
Run. I mean,
Yeah.
I think it was Bluter. I'm pretty sure it was. It said that she's not really worried about Clark's turnovers, right? She's had some games where she has upwards of 8 turnovers. She had one game where she had 10, right? She could have had a triple-double if you counted in her turnovers. But it's because they go so fast. So they're expected, right?
Right.
In games where Caitlin's on fire and everything's going, no turnovers, they blow the team out. They're playing, regardless who it is.
The other thing I like about, and I'm kind of hoping the men adopt the women's quarters and because they don't have as many TV timeouts. They play what 5-minute quarter.
10.
Oh yeah,
10-minute quarters. They play the same amount of time. It's just 10 minutes.
It's 10 quarters.
But you don't have the under 16 timeout, the under 12 timeout, the under 8 timeout, the under 4 timeout.
Yeah.
Yeah. The women's games do go a little faster on TV when you're watching them, but
just depends.
he's correct.
Watching.
But
Right.
Bluter's teams have always been exciting, but I think, was it the year before Gustafson or the year of Gustafson where people really started taking notice of her teams?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was when they went to the Elite Eight.
Yeah.
With Gustafson, right? And
right.
She's been to the Sweet 16, Elite Eight a few times in just the last 4 years.
Right. Last year they had an early exit. I think they didn't make the Sweet 16. They got beat by Creighton.
Creighton, yeah.
In the second round. Yeah.
And by a former Hawkeye.
Yeah. Lauren Jensen.
And, and you know
I'm
what?
Thinking, why'd we let her get away?
Well, they had a choice. I mean, she wanted to play.
Yeah, I know she did.
Same position as Caitlin Clark.
Right.
Creighton played very physical against Caitlin Clark in that game. They were very physical with her.
Well, that's what both of our teams were weak. You play physical with Iowa, they're just going to complain. The women and the men, they'll sit there and whine about being fouled. It drives me nuts, and I don't know why more teams don't do that. Like, remember TCU? Holy cow! They just destroyed Iowa, made Iowa cry. They went back to the bus crying their eyes out. I mean, both the men and women, all they do is complain about being fouled.
I know it.
And if teams are playing rough with them, right? I mean, and there's another team. Oh, UConn's coach said that about South Carolina. He was like, I don't know what we were playing, but it wasn't basketball. Yeah. All the UConn women were beat up. Like, they had bruises all over them. What's his name? He's Italian.
Gio Ariema or something?
Yeah, that's it. But yeah, he called them out and made South Carolina's coach get mad. We played basketball. Like, don't make fun of our women or something like that. But they play rough. And as long as it's legal, I mean, it's legal. You can play tough defense in basketball. Right? So, but not Iowa schools. Neither one of them play rough. They don't play rough offense, defense, nothing. Connor's the only one that will wall you. You ever notice Connor, doesn't matter how big you are, he'll put his body in front and stay in good position. He's the only one in Iowa that will do that.
Well, Rabacha's been doing that more and more.
I suppose you could probably see that a little bit, but
yeah. More and more he is. I mean, he's improved a lot over the course of this.
Improved offensively. He's got an attitude this year, but he gets burnt on defense. He just gets destroyed.
I know it. As judged by all the easy baskets Wisconsin got last night.
Right. I mean, remember that, speaking of all, want to talk about, like Chris, remember that rebound he gave up?
You mean the one that came to him and he just stood there and let Wisconsin take it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was his.
Yeah, but he was soft. He didn't go for the ball. He was just going to go, like it was an easy rebound because he thought he was all by himself. That's what I'm talking about. Like, there's something going on as far as their mental game, their toughness on the road. I don't know if it got to him with Northwestern saying Keegan's better, right? I mean, he's not very strong mentally, and if that could be messing with his shot because he's just pressing, right?
But Keegan was there in the stands, and I would think that Keegan would just help him through that, just get him to mentally, hey, don't worry about it, bro.
Yeah, he's his brother. He probably like, well, they were right. That's probably
well, that could be too.
they're brothers, so But yeah, anyway, it's going to be a big weekend of Iowa sports. I'm so excited.
So why don't we wrap this up? We've done this for just about an hour now, or over an hour, and good show, guys. It went well, I thought. Not bad for not getting together since the 1st of January.
That's it.
No, it was good.
Yeah.
All
right, guys. We'll look forward to doing it again soon.
All right.
Absolutely.
Bye.
See you guys.
Bye, Terry.
Bye, Terry.
By the way, where was Terry? She said she was watching tonight.
Oh, I don't know.
Terry, we got you. Bye.